Okay, people, so now we're going on to video number 2 here. I'm kind of tired. I don't have it in me like I used to. You know, when you're younger, you're much more spry and you have a much more energy and you can go a lot longer and, you know, arguments weren't so draining. Needless to say, I was arguing again today, but it's over now. So anyway, I forgot to mention that this, when I went to go see the dietitian, I guess somebody had donated these to the center that I go to. So she ended up giving us quite a few cases of this, like, right? And it's a Nutrient Junior drink, which is supposed to be high in fats. She knows I don't want to rely on this for the rest of Amari's life if I don't have to, right? Because it's a non-natural product. But for now, it's 2 times a day. And then every now and then, he can have one of these. These were donated as well. Obviously, I need to find some time to make some pudding. I need a bigger kitchen, people. Seriously, I need a bigger kitchen. But besides that point, you know, it's, what do you call that? First world problems, right? I have first world problems. My kitchen is too small. So I went downstairs and I just grabbed these books for now. Maybe there isn't 200 of them, but there's over 100 down there anyway. So we'll just go through them quickly, okay? This is a Better Homes and Garden. This is Fresh Fish. And this is a cookbook. All-time favorite beef. Another Better Homes and Garden. These are older cookbooks. Casual Entertaining, another Better Homes. Calorie Trimmed Recipes, another Better Homes. Look and Cook Main Dishes. This one's a little thicker. And this is done by Ann Williams. You can see. And then we've got one here, which is Basic Juicing. So how many books did I bring up? Oh my. There's 6 of them here anyway. So we'll start with these 6. So, and then we've got that pasta one that Tiffany Draper and one of her subscribers is going to get yet. We haven't followed up on that yet. So, but for now, I'm going to just keep moving forward. Justice for ShaMay. And for the 2 women that I'm in conversation with regarding these cookbooks, just email me with your address and I'll send them out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put Canadian stamps on them, real stamps, from the post office. And I'm just going to put the book in regular mail so we're not stressing out and paying an extra $20 just so we can have a tracking number. Canada Post is pretty good. It's just a book. Right? If you can't trust to send a book in the mail through the post office, what does that say about the federal government? Okay? So we're going to trust that these books are going to get there by regular mail. And then when it gets to the other side, wherever it is being delivered, if you can, it would be greatly appreciated if you ran off to your local post office and purchased the dollar amount minus what it would cost for you to ship the envelope. Because what I'd like in return, if it's possible, because technically you can't give somebody something and then ask for something in return, but I'm a poor woman, and if my kids find out that I'm sending out all these books in the mail and paying for everything, and just, you know, it's enough that you're giving them away, but now you're paying $2,000 to mail them all out, they'll get mad. Whereas if I say, well, you know, I got stamps in return, so when you're out and about, and if you can spare whatever it costs, if this costs $5 regular mail, then just go buy $5 worth of American stamps if you're in the United States, like real stamps, the lit kind stamp, that kind of stamp. And put it in between 2 pieces of thin cardboard in an envelope with my name on the back, on the front, or whatever, in the front, with just a, you know, 35-cent postage stamp or whatever the postage is, and mail them off to me. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to save them for my grandkids, because I collect stamps, right? So I'll just add them in with the rest of the stamps that I have, and I'll just collect them over time. And then that will be from ShaMay and her supporters, right? So that's kind of how we're going to build around this program in terms of just, you know, I don't know, promote reading. What are we promoting here, people? Reading, sharing recipes, right? Yeah, got some nice stuff in here. Baked goods and desserts. This one is the juicing. Strawberry apple bars. So anyway, now what I'm going to do, I'm really tired. I'm really, really tired, people. You can see what I've done here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate approximately after I'll get this all done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get the meat. I am not going to pressure can the liver, because you don't want to pressure can things that become like a paste or thick, right? Because the heat can't go through it. There has to be movement, preferably through your jar in terms of liquid and your product. So I'm going to do the ground turkey. I'll probably chop up some of this sausage. I'll see. I don't think I need the sausage, because that and the turkey will be more than enough to fill up these jars. But I am going to pressure can these, because there's only so much room left in my deep freeze. And once you pressure can them, I mean, as long as the seal doesn't pop, they're good for years, people. And, you know, when family members move out or disappear, as in the case of Uncle John, or die, and then within an instant your household income changes, right, and you're left holding the bag, it's good to know that you've got stuff like this put away for those rainy days if you're not using them regularly. The point of me doing this, though, is to compensate. Like this one here has got beef broth with chicken and peas. I am not doing that with this. This I'm doing turkey broth, enriched turkey broth, because I cooked it for like almost 3 days on low heat. And I'm doing ground turkey with just a little bit of the turkey that I boiled in the pot with the bones and everything. I took the fat and, you know, the skin and just a teeny weeny bit of the meat, and I chopped it all up. So by the time I fry up that turkey, mix it all in there, so it gives that a little extra fat that Amari needs for weight gain. And again, it's the meat and the marrows and those types of things that build muscle. Normally you need to exercise in order to build the muscle. Amari's exercise is limited. However, if you keep eating meat, your muscle will begin to change eventually anyway. So, and everybody needs a little bit of fat in their diet as well. So it boils down to choosing what types of fats you're going to eat versus margarine versus butter, right? I guess, you know, olive oil is better than canola oil, those kind of things, right? So now I'm going to go get this meat. I'm going to start frying it. I'm really tired, don't want to do it. I'm going to have to climb, go get my pressure canner. I'm really tired and I don't want to do it. But once it's in there, you cook it for, 90 minutes? Because depending... Well, these are all half pint sizes. So whatever a half pint is for turkey, probably 70 minutes. Once you get into a pint, you're looking at 90 minutes and up. Fish is always 100 minutes or 110 minutes for fish, right? Okay. I prefer those pressure canners that have those gauges, although I find that you have to go back and forth and constantly readjust the gauge, where those ones that don't have the gauges, you know, you're running them for 90 minutes or 100 minutes or 110 minutes, and by the time, it's coming near the end, there's no water in there. So now you're getting scared because the canner is getting hot, right? And by the time you're done and everything calms down and you get to open up the canner, you'll be lucky to have a quarter teaspoon of freaking water left. Like, that's kind of scary. So I used to sit in here with Uncle John and we'd be like, oh, here goes the house, you're gonna blow his top, right? But I got over it. Okay, so as long as I get it done, right? That's once you, even if it's still early. God, it's only 5:30. So I got plenty of time. If I can have this done by 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, I'm laughing. And then what happened is, because I'm on a frugal budget here, people, right? It's apple season again. Oh, those are all apples falling off the trees around here. I got them like 2 days ago. I haven't had a chance to even look at them. So, tomorrow I'm going to peel them, probably go get some more, see, because they're falling off the trees now, right? So, go get some more, I'll peel them, I'll steam them in terms of juicing, that type of thing. I'll juice them by steaming them. And then I'm going to save the juice and then probably try and do it the next day or the day after with more apples. So this way, when I do can, which I would probably, well, if I use my big pressure canner, I can use that as well as a water bath, because I like to do my apple juice in a water bath, bring it up to 190, and then hold it for 20 minutes or 30 minutes, depending on the jar or whatever, right? I mean, an extra 10 minutes at 190 isn't gonna cause any problems. And then this way, by the end of 30 days, I could probably have 24 jars of juice, people. Real apple juice. Right? And when those drops of income happen because people either move out, disappear, or die, you can still maintain on at least providing adequate food to your family, even though you don't necessarily have the money to go buy groceries. So, I'll be back. Okay, so moving along. So what I've done is I've cut fresh carrots. I'm going to do something else with that other carrot with the liver. I'm not going to can the liver. You're not really supposed to can liver, or at least I haven't found a recipe for it. Right? So I'm going to try and make like a liver's worth or a pate or something, and then I might incorporate the carrots in with it, and then after I'm done, I'll be freezing, because liver is high in B12 vitamins, that those things, right? So anyway, turkey is kind of like a superfood because it's not a really fatty meat, and it's a meat that can be digested. Now, you won't find too many recipes for canning ground turkey, but you'll find for recipes for hamburger, pork, wild deer, that kind of stuff. But nothing really for turkey or chicken in terms of it being ground. And I think the reason for that is it's a twofold thing. One, when the government back in the day did all their studies, ground turkey probably wasn't that much on the menu. It was more like a Thanksgiving kind of a thing. It wasn't a staple within the nucleus family. So they never really put a lot of testing into it. But that doesn't mean you can't do it. The other thing is, you don't want to pack your jars thick because it gets condensed and then the heat can't go through it. So I don't plan on packing. Oh, sorry, wandering eye. I'm trying to just break up these chunks, make them just a little more uniform. Because the whole purpose of this for me, people, is for that. Right? The only reason I'm doing this is because I want that, and I just don't want a canned broth, right? And, you know, we're trying to build up Amari's muscles here. Fat is good, but that's not the only thing that's going to do it. I'm surprised that the dietitian didn't tell me to feed him more meat, because it's the meat that builds the muscle, right? I'm not saying fat doesn't do it, but that's why bodybuilders and stuff like that, they'll eat a whole chicken. You know, people that are like playing football and, you know, they're using up a lot of energy and they're running and lifting weights, and like they eat a lot of potatoes, like a lot of potatoes, and a lot of chicken, and they'll eat a whole chicken and 5 potatoes and then go work out. Anyway, I'm just semi-cooking this, right? I'm not going to put it, I put just a little sprinkle of salt on it, but I'm not going to do too much with it, right? Because this is very flavorful. I don't even think I need to put salt, honestly, in the jars, but I didn't hardly use any salt. I don't even remember putting salt in that, but it had the seasoning from the turkey and the stuffing, and right, so it doesn't really need salt because it already has it. But I'm going to taste it anyway, right? It tastes like turkey. It's really good. Hardly any salt. So what I'll do is I will put that in between these jars, and then I'm going to give each jar, because this is a half pint. Or is this a pint? This is a pint, people. That's a pint. That's a half pint. That's a half pint. So I'm only going to put like maybe a 1/4 teaspoon of salt in each one after I fill everything up. Right? First I'll put the meat in, and then I'll put a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and then you top it off with the liquid, right? Leave, they say, a 1-inch headspace or so, right? I've done salmon with less than a 1-inch, and they're perfectly fine even after all these years, right? Hold on a minute. Okay, so what I did is I just kind of skimmed off some of that fat, and I'm going to save this for when I'm working with the chicken liver, right? I just wanted to point that out. I can't find my little measuring spoons. I started clearing out my drawer here. I don't know. First world problems. My kitchen is too small. So anyway, as you can see, it's not even... I only want about... Oh, I don't know. That's about a 1/4 teaspoon. Right? So I'm just going to throw like a little bit of that in each jar. I'm going to show you how much I filled up these jars, because there's going to be a fair amount of liquid, so nothing should get packed in terms of the meat, right? It should be kind of floaty in there, and this way when you're pressure canning, the heat will go through it, right? It's when you start packing and making everything tight that they're concerned that when you're pressure canning, the heat is not going through. But even when you're canning chicken and stuff like that, you know what I mean, like, it comes together, right? So anyway, this is just protein that's easy to digest, specifically being cooked up for muscle development, right? So we're going to do that. And then, if you can see, there's not very much in there. It's very loose, right? And by the time I put the liquid in there, all this is going to be floating around, right? You can see there's not very much in there, right? So then you take a ladle. I lose everything in this kitchen, man. I had a ladle, people. Here it is. Slightly stressed out. Right? And this is very nice and rich. So I'm going to fill that up. And then after I'm done that, I got a couple of extra jars that I can just can the broth as is by itself. Because you don't want everything in the freezer, right? Because, you know, it starts to pile up after a while, right? And, you know, hard to get to, eh? So you want a combination of things that you can mix match as you go along. And again, if you come into an economical crisis, right, you can go months without buying groceries, except for maybe fresh milk, fresh eggs, and, you know, some potatoes or something. But other than that, you can dehydrate your onions, you can dehydrate potatoes, you can do all kinds of stuff, right, to prepare for when you don't have money because of something happening in your family and you lose a loved one, right, for whatever reason, and you're left holding the bag and you've got people that are depending on you to feed them. So with all this fighting going on in my house, I don't feel so bad right now. Right? Really, people, all I wanted was the broth. That's why I'm doing this. My thing was, that turkey was a nice big turkey, and I seen those bones, and that's all I wanted, was this broth. So, I didn't feel like just canning straight up broth by itself. Right? And I sure the heck didn't want to freeze it, because I've already got other ones in there. And if for some reason, you know, I don't have money to buy groceries, because it comes to that sometimes, I have this. So I'm happy with this. Right? So I'll just show you here. I'm just heating up the lids. Some of these jars are going a little past an inch. But, whoops, that one's way too much. Now, if you don't do any kind of canning of any kind, and you've never done it, you know, I would recommend getting a pressure canner, right? Because if you get a pressure canner, a big one, get a big one, because you can do little batches in a big one, and you can do big batches in a big one. You can do little jars, and you can stack them up, or you can do quart-sized jars and half-pint jars, stack them up. Whereas if you get a small one, you're kind of limited to just small jars. Unless, of course, yeah, you see I got lots of stock here, people. Like, way too much stock. Oh. It's just a little more versatile, right? And anything that you do in a pressure canner in terms of, like, if you had to use a water bath, you don't need a water bath canner. You just need a canner. You just need a pressure canner, a big one, and you can turn that into a water bath. That's what I do with when I'm making juices. I like them better because it's taller, right? I don't like canners because they don't necessarily cover over the jars, because, you know, by the time you put your jars in there, you got this much water. Like that from the rim, that is. Right. So now I'm going to have to do some actual jars. And then what happens is you take the food that requires the longer processing time, and you use that as your gauge in terms of how long you're going to process for, in addition to the size of your jar. And because I'm no more than, what do you call it? There's one here that's a pint size. I may go get another couple more because I want, it's the broth that I want. That's what I want. So I don't know. We'll see. See how much is left. Maybe I'll make a small soup with leftover, or maybe I'll use that with the liver tomorrow with something else. All right. As long as I have some, I'm happy here. So let me just finish this. I know you don't want to watch this. Hurry up. Finish filling up those jars. Why are you taking so long? Taking too long. Tomorrow I'm getting up tomorrow morning, and guess what I'm doing? Apples. If you can find a tree that nobody wants, that's dropping apples, you know, serious, it's worth taking the time to make apple juice and apple butter. You get two things out of apples. And if there's no trees around you, then you do it when apples are on sale. Or you look for those discount bags that these grocery stores put out every now and then. Right? And you do it that way. I just happen to have an apple tree close by. Well, a couple of them. Right? So and when you make apple juice, you kind of want 3 different apples. Technically, you kind of use more than just one apple to make apple juice. Okay, so I'm going to show you what I've got here so far. I'll have to maybe take out a little bit here, a little bit there, like this one here. Hold on a minute. And then after we're done, we're going to calculate approximately what I spent on everything here. See, this one's a little high. Just a little bit. So you take a spoon, you take out this one, maybe a little bit too high. Right? So you just take out a little bit. So take out a little bit from that one. Sorry. And this one. And you top off this one. So this is what I've got so far. And if you can see here, where's that famous chopstick? If you see here how nice and loose this is, you're not going to have any problem canning that. Right? That's not really much different than having chunks of meat in there. Right? And I doubt it has any air bubbles, but you should just take the time just to give it a little stir. Make sure there's no air bubbles in there because it will crack your jars. Right? That's what the purpose of that is. Alright. And I added fresh carrot because the carrot's going to give it flavor. Right? And you seen me put a little bit of salt in there. Easy to digest. Okay, so that's just the broth, right? Hold on a minute. Okay, so this is where I'm at in the game now. Do you understand what I'm saying? Right? So, at some point, invest in one of these. And if you're a little older, get your daughters or your nieces or your daughter-in-laws to help you. Because as we age, things get heavy, right? But besides that point, so anyway, I couldn't get this jar in there, and I'm not switching things around now. So I'm just going to take off the lid. I'm going to switch this. This has not been used. So I will wash that and save it for the next time I can. And then you take it and you put it in the freezer. I'm gonna put those ones in the freezer. You freeze without lids, and then after it's frozen, then you put the lid on, right? So now I'm gonna put the lid on this, and because these are half pints, well, that's not really a half pint now, is it? Anyway. I could put those ones in there. I could switch them around. Maybe I'll do that. I'll freeze those two. I'll freeze those two because I only want to do this for 75 minutes because they're half pints, right? And those are a quarter pints. Hold on. Okay, obviously I'm tired. This is just broth. It's a pint. It's okay. 75 minutes. When you're doing broth by itself, it's less time. When you've got things inside, it's more time. So anyway, we're going to be doing this for 75 minutes, okay? It's not going to be any worse, any better. It will be safe. So now I'm going to put everything on, and then I'll be back. Okay. So what I've done is I've taken the rest of that broth. You can see here that one I'm going to freeze, but it's still too warm to put in the freezer, right? Here, now, for a person wanting to lose some weight, this would be an ideal food group because one, it's providing your body the nutrients that it's going to crave. Everybody needs fat in their diet. So it's got the natural fats that the body can break down fairly easily. It has a lot of minerals. I mean, I don't know them all. But it has minerals and it has vitamins. It has both people, right? And it has the electrolytes that you would need as your body is making an adjustment as you're replacing some foods and removing other foods. Or if you're not removing all foods, like if you don't have, like I don't, okay, we're just steaming off this right now. And then I put on the weight. Okay. I don't think, stop eating some foods just to lose weight is the solution. You know, it's that all in moderation stuff, right? So I wouldn't want to tell anybody they can't have a piece of cake if they want a piece of cake, right? Because, you know, life is short and cake is good. So, you know, eat some cake, but maybe, you know, like in a day, like I have to, you know, budget Amari's intake, right? In terms of, now we have to add extra fat 3 times a day now just to give him that added energy to start building muscles. But he still needs the meat. You see, that's the thing the dietitian didn't tell me. You know, maybe because she's seen the chicken in the jar, right? Maybe she figured it was already being provided. But what I'm trying to say is, if you're trying to lose weight and you're having cravings for certain foods because you're having panic attacks or you're under stress or, you know, it's a habit or whatever it is, try and maybe think about supplementing some of your diet with things like this that you can easily make at home, and you can either freeze the excess and take it out as you need it, or you can can it, right? If you're going to can it, and you know, and you think, oh, I have no place to store it, well, what you do is you try and find the north wall of your place. Anything facing north, the wall will be colder. So you put these things up towards the wall on shelves or underneath the bed, but not near no radiators and stuff like that, no heat, right? Now it's getting hot in here. But in terms of like, if you're wanting to cut back on a certain food because you consider it to be a culprit, in terms of adding on weight or keeping the weight, but you feel that you can forfeit on it for, you know, a time or cut back on it, but you need to satisfy your craving or whatever it is that drives people to eat things, right? Think about maybe supplementing it with this, because technically you could drink one of these a day, and the only thing that's going to do is build your bones, build your tendons, build your ligaments, build up your blood, build up your brain cells, that kind of stuff. This is your nails, your hair. This is what this is going to do. It's not going to hurt you. And again, there is no salt in here, so you would salt it to your taste. And you don't necessarily have to use salt. You can use seaweed flakes. You can take mitsu, right? And you could add, mitsu is salty, right? There's different types of mitsu. And mitsu is a live probiotic. The only thing is you can't take mitsu and put it into a boiling soup because it kills the probiotics. You want it to stop boiling and then put it in. So you could take a half a teaspoon to your taste, or whatever it is, and mix it in with the mitsu in here to compensate for salt, right? And then you're getting a double whammy in terms of nutrients. Drinking this with a little bit of mitsu after you're done, because it's a whole food, it's a real food, right? You'll probably feel fairly satisfied in terms of curbing the hunger pain, right? I don't think you could drink too much of this in a day. In other words, if you had the need to drink it 2 or 3 times a day, I don't think it would hurt you. It's not going to put on a lot of weight, but it's going to build your tendons, build up your muscles, build up your ligaments, that type of thing. And it's going to fill you up, right? Because I think when people go on diets, they get hungry. And that's a problem for people. So you need to find foods that are satisfying and can kind of fill you up and still provide the electrolytes and the nutrients and all these things that your body requires, but at the same time, because what will happen is if you stop eating, the body starts to eat itself. That's how the weight gets shed, right? And then as soon as you start eating, the body goes into protection mode and it wants to repair itself and build up that weight again because it knows as a body that it's going to be starved, right? That's how that cycle goes. You're not starving your body with this. This is what I'm trying to say. Okay, if you think theory, right? In theory-wise, you're not starving your body because there's a lot of nutrients in this. It can be beef broth, chicken broth, any kind of broth, right? Okay, so now we wait to get to over 10 pounds pressure on this thing, and then I'm going to time it for 75 minutes. And then I run it back forth every few minutes because this thing, I can bring my stove down to 3 and it will be like still rising up to 15. When you get up into the 20, it's getting into caution area. So anyway, this is a natural whole food that does a lot of different things. You can add mitsu into it to compensate for salt because I guess there's salt in mitsu. But the thing about mitsu, see, this is not boiling, but it's still warm. So you would put it in there now. So you're getting those nutrients, the extra it's like a fermented food, right? If you were to drink this like that, or even half a cup, after you're done, you would probably feel satisfied in terms of hunger pains, right? And then you would also eat something with this if you wanted to, or you could drink this and within a half an hour to an hour then have a meal. But because you drank this, your appetite won't be so voracious. You won't be so hungry. Because I think if you're trying to lose weight, I think one of the biggest issues, if it was for me, I would be concerned about being hungry, right? So consider it a natural appetite suppressant. That's what I'm trying to say. Versus using coffee and tea and cigarettes, like I do. You could use something like this as an appetite suppressant that doesn't deprive your body of the nutrients that it needs, right? And that it will be satisfying after you're done with it, so that you don't have the urge to, because I think losing weight is a combination of a few things. You kind of have to retrain your brain to seek out new adventures, new tastes. This is a new taste, right? And if you can make it for yourself, oh boy, that's jumping up real fast. Okay, if you can make it for yourself, then you're always guaranteed to have it, and it will be much more economical. I gotta pay attention to this. Hold on. Okay, so anyway, now it's almost midnight. It's like 10 minutes to 12, and I'm done. I just took them out of the canner. So there's 24 jars, right? What do you call it? 6 jars of broth, and the rest all has that turkey in it. So anyway, I estimated this to have cost me about $22 in terms of the turkey. The turkey was $12. The lids were maybe $6, so that's what, $18. And then I paid $4 for the jars because I just bought a whole bunch of jars for $10, right? This is not even half of them. So anyway, that's $22, so that's less than $1 a jar, people. That's in terms of cost, less than $1 a jar. And if you throw in hydro, it's $1 a jar.